Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Kris. I don't know why I paused on that. I know who I am. This is an audience of one episode 4. Take action. No hat and no Phillies hat, no Phillies shirt or sweatshirt. What's going on? Why is this? Okay. I hate when the bar appears. Wasted screen, I say. So this video is sponsored by YouBuyWeRush. Um, 57 views. Not enough people are seeing this. Anyways, you can click that thumbs up and subscribe for me. That helps out tremendously. See, I am subscribed to this channel. You can donate to the channel through the thanks button, and you can request a video. Your name's sponsoring that video. You can still request without donating. It just takes a little bit longer. I have plenty of videos, and one of them, if the person's watching, I have just started the 17-part Ottoman Empire. Was it Ottoman Empire? Yes, it was. By Kings and Generals. I only have one done so far, but I'm going to release that this coming, will be next week. And I'm going to kind of get those done. But that was the first one was good. Kind of tells you the start, not related to this video, but just so people know I am trying to get, things done. I say add it to the list, and then I forget to add it to the list, and then people get mad at me, understandably so. But I blame you. It's your fault. Yeah. Because I don't want to take the blame for it. So we're gonna get started in the video, and let's go.
So you've decided to change. You know that for the most part, you're most likely going to be going this path alone, and you've committed to forgiving yourself for your past transgressions. But your transformation just can't remain an idea in your head. At some point, you have to start taking action. And taking action is going to come in two forms. It's going to come in the form of not only what you do, but also what you don't do. Most of the time when we think about taking action, we think about the things that we can do. I can go to the gym. I can pray. I can give charity. I can treat somebody kindly. I can give someone a compliment, and so on. And all of this is 100% correct. These are all good deeds that are going to have a positive impact. But taking action can also come in the form of what you don't do. And that may be counterintuitive because you're not actually doing anything. But the action that you are doing is the act of refraining. And sometimes that can be a lot more difficult than any other action that you actually do. In fact, a lot of the reason why you are where you are right now is because of the things that you did do, not because of the things that you didn't do. And so there's a lot of good that can happen from just refraining from certain actions. And if refraining wasn't such a hard act to do, we wouldn't have so many people falling into the actions that they're falling into. So the first step is that you need to assess where you're at. And you need to start critically looking at what are the things that you are doing wrong? What are the situations that you're putting yourself in that are detrimental to yourself? What are the reactions that you're having to certain situations that are negative? And likewise, you need to be looking at the things that you're not doing, but that you should be. Now, when you're doing this, you need to remember that you're not trying to lay blame. It's really easy for you to look at your situation and start thinking about your troubles, your faults, the situations that you've fallen in, and looking back at what you see as the root cause and start blaming your parents, blaming your school, blaming your environment, blaming your friends or the lack thereof. It's very easy to start blaming your faults on the circumstances that you've been in and the things that people have done to you. You don't.
I blamed everyone but myself. And then one day, gotta get a little drink. One day, I got in trouble for a decision I'd made. And I take the deep breaths because I can feel a yawn coming on because I'm breathing shallower when I'm trying to talk and then it makes me take deep breaths. I shouldn't do that then. I got in trouble for a decision I'd made. And I I remember being mad, but I was mad at I did something, but well my friends made me do this. It's not my fault. I was with this person. And then something sunk in that I made the decision, but I could have just said, "Okay, I did it. We're done." Like I'm not doing that anymore. Let's just say hypothetically, it involved the mall and shoplifting. Hypothetically, it's not a true story. And a decision was made to steal, let's just say, a basketball jersey and shorts. And let's say this person, me, wanted to leave immediately. But instead, the people that I was with wanted to stick around and do more thefteries or thieveries. I like thefteries. It just sounds like a made up word. It is. And as we were leaving, cops showed up. Hypothetically, we all ran. And one person got in trouble. They didn't tell. And that person got in trouble. And they got in trouble because we had been there for so long that after a while, the security camera just started eyeballing us all the time. And so had we went in, got a few things and left. And so I was so mad. But then I told myself I didn't have to stay. I could have at any time left on my own accord and walked back to my friend's house and just said, I'm not going to have anything more to do with this. Even though I've done something, I'm not going to do anything more. I could have went back to that store and tossed the stuff inside and then took off running, but I didn't. I stuck around. So I got mad because the person's parents made a call to all the kids' homes, but they didn't know my parents' home. They just knew where I was at. Made a call there. My best friend at the time, who I lost because of drugs, he's not dead. He made his decision. His dad shoot us both out. Not a fun time. But he didn't tell it to his mom, and he didn't tell it to my parents. But that night I was so mad after I got yelled at. I was so mad. But that was when that dawned on me. I could have left. I could have left. I could have left. And then when it was said to me, what did you do that for? I could have said, I left. Yeah, I did break the law, but I left. I knew it was wrong and I knew it was going to continue. And so I left, but I didn't. So whose fault was it really? I can't blame my friend. I wasn't handcuffed to him. It was me. It was me and maybe potentially the greed was there that I got an outfit. What if I got something else? So I'm just as guilty in all of it. So I knew better, but I continued.
Don't want to get caught up in that. If your parents did you wrong, you don't want to look at that. You want to look at your reaction, because that's the ultimate issue. A group of people betrayed you. That sucks. They suck. But the betrayal is not the issue. It's how you reacted to it that was the issue. So take some time and list out for yourself all of your faults. What are your issues? What are the negative reactions that you have to situations? And if you feel poorly about yourself, this should be a really easy exercise, because you've been focusing on your faults for quite a bit of time. Start going through them, and don't look at the cause, be it your circumstance, your situation, or the people who've wronged you. Look at your reaction and see that as the fault. Because you can only control what you can control. You can't always control your environment. You definitely can't change your upbringing. But you can change the things you do control, and that's how you react to these negative situations and environments. Many villains are as such because they take out the rage and anger and frustration that resulted in the trauma that they faced, and they take it out on the world. Whereas many heroes may have experienced trauma, but they've taken the approach of that they want to make sure that nobody else ever has to go through what they went through ever again. So fundamentally, what this comes down to is, do you want to be a good person or not? You could choose to be bad, which would be extremely liberating, at least on this plane. You'd have to give up on any sense of morality or the feeling of remorse, and then go have fun. The world's filled with evil deeds that give you an instant sense of gratification. But you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to hurt everyone around you. And unless you are absolutely pure evil, which I don't believe that even the worst of the worst are, you're going to devour yourself until you are so distraught by your actions that you completely lose your mind, your soul, and eventually your life. But if you're choosing to be good, you've got to do good. Good people do good deeds. You have to act. Now, this is actually a lot more difficult than it sounds, not because you don't know the things that you have to stop doing or the things that you need to start doing, but because there's so much that has to change that it can feel extremely overwhelming. So you need to do triage. You need to figure out what are the most important actions that you need to take in order to get stabilized. Now, before you start making a list of all the things you need to do and all the things that you need to stop, you need to realize that change is a process. You're not going to cut everything out cold turkey. You're just not. Just like you're not going to turn on the water hose of good deeds all in one day. First and foremost, you're just not capable of doing so. There are no overnight success stories in life. They don't exist. Everything is a process. And it's the very fact that people don't recognize that change and development is a process is the reason why they fail. Because you think you have to change overnight, and you have good intentions, and you try, and you fail. And then you feel like a failure, and it reinforces all of the negative thoughts that you have about yourself. Secondly is that even if you were able to, it's just not sustainable. You are going to make mistakes. And having this rigid idea of what the path looks like, which leaves no room for deviation when we all deviate, is just begging for failure. Because consistent success is going to take an immense amount of effort and focus. And that effort and focus is going to be a skill that you're going to have to develop over time. It isn't something that you just have to turn on because you accidentally turned it off one day. Just as your fall to your current state didn't happen overnight, you're not going to change everything around overnight. There were consistent small chips away at your armor day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year that resulted in your current state. So the process of reforging that armor is going to take time. The more good you do, the higher your tolerance for doing good is going to become, and the more good you're going to be able to do. Likewise, the more that you refrain from, the higher your tolerance for refraining is going to become, the more you're going to be able to refrain from.
I've never said a single word that I know I've never told anyone. I might have said something on my channel before, but I've never told another person face to face what I'm about to say. I went out to breakfast one time, went to Cracker Barrel in Morton, Illinois. I love Cracker Barrel. Went there. It was uh, it was just a bad time in life. Um, Nothing major. Just it was one of those times where it's that down, and I'm in there. I'm sitting down. I'm reading as I'm eating breakfast. Take a book with me everywhere I go because I read and eat alone. So I'm reading, and I look over, and there's an older couple that come in. They sit down, and then this woman comes in holding a baby with another. She's young with a young baby, and then a guy comes in. He's a young guy. I would say he's in his. I'd say at the time 23, 24. She was probably 21, 22. They had a baby, and he was in a U.S. Army outfit, like he had just gotten back from deployment. And I'm guessing that was his parents or her parents. And from where I'm sitting, I'm looking over, and they were hugging him, and they were, asking him. This is the first time he had seen his baby. The child was born when he was gone, so this wasn't the first moment. But he had, been home maybe 3 days. This is the first 3 days he's had around his child, and so I'm reading, and I was snooping in the discussion. I was just listening to it, and they're talking. They order all their breakfast and everything, and I get done with my food. I pay my bill, and I'm walking. I get ready to leave, and I just see their waitress, and I stop her and I said, "Give me the bill for their table." And she says, "The whole thing?" I said, "The whole bill. I want all five." So she gives me the bill. Excuse me. She gives me the bill, and I said, "I'm going to pay it. Don't tell them." And she said, "Well, that's awful nice of you. Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Just tell them, congratulations. Somebody here paid for your meal because you were in a uniform, and they just want to say thanks." Paid the meal. The bill was $63.67. I remember that. I even threw money down for a tip. Paid, walked out, sat in the car, was getting ready to leave, and I could see the waitress coming up to the table, talking to them. And they were looking around, wanting to know who it was that paid. And I smiled inside. And I left. I think I had to go to a grocery store or something like that, and I left. And the next day, I just trying to record, and one of my dogs is snoring. The next day, I felt like problems are fine. And it's something that I take with me now whenever I'm having a really, really bad time. I will go out to eat, and I will find like breakfast, and I'll just find a random couple, elderly couple, and I'll tell their waitress I'll pay for their meal. Because something about it, some karma, it feels like when I do that, my day gets better. And it's very selfish to say that, but I feel like by treating them, I feel better. And I realize that the issue isn't all that important, but I've made their day. So that makes my day. That makes me happy. And I've never told anyone that I do that. So keep that between us. But I've done that probably 15 times now. And it's only one time I didn't get away with it. I was in Virginia. It was just before I went to Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg, in February 2021, where I paid the bill and I was leaving. I sat in the car, and the couple sat there and then started waving at me, and I gave them a wave, and I was like, damn it. Now they know that I am Batman. I need them to think I'm just simply Bruce Wayne, but now they know. And that one wasn't as enjoyable to me because the waiter was nice and waited for me to leave before he told him. But I was hoping that I could leave. And I remember feeling like, man, I didn't want them to know. I want them for the rest of their life to be like, and then somebody paid. And I have no idea. We don't know who it was. But I guess now looking back on it, it was kind of obvious because there was 3 people in the restaurant that morning, 2 of them at that table, and me. So can't really frown on that one, I guess.
Remember, you need to set yourself up for success. The last thing you need to do is bite off more than you can chew, fail in your efforts, and then saddle yourself with the discouragement of that failure. You do that, and you start to reinforce in your mind that you're a failure, you're worthless, you can't do anything right, you're not capable of change, your efforts are fruitless, they always will be, so why try in the first place? And now we're back to square one. So we're going to make a list or a mental list of all the things that we're doing wrong, all of the negative reactions that we have to the situations and circumstances that we're in. And the objective here isn't to make a list of all of our faults so that we can crush our souls with, just reminding ourselves of how bad we really are. But we want to be able to take a critical look at where are the areas that are really crushing our lives. And where are the areas that, I really shouldn't be doing that, but it's not the biggest issue on the list right now. So there are 2 things to consider here. Not all evil is equal. There are some things that are killing you immediately and absolutely destroying your life. If you are bleeding out on the operating table, I am not going to address your broken finger. Yes, the finger needs to be fixed, but it's not going to kill you. If you're using heroin, I am not going to give you a hard time about the fact that you're smoking cigarettes. Yet. Because you want to put most of your effort towards the biggest problems first, because those are the things that are really wrecking your life. And those are the things.
What if I have a terrible crack cocaine addiction and my feet stink? Which one do you think you would address first? I'm hoping the foot issue. That's not good.
That if you were to fix, would alleviate a lot of the pain and the problems that you're facing, which would cause a lot of other issues to start to fall back into place. And remember, you are not going to fix these things overnight. It is going to be a process. These are issues that we want to continuously put most of our effort towards. Essentially, what we're doing is we're addressing the elephant in the room. Now, you may feel like this is just too daunting of a task right now, most probably because you have tried to address it in the past and failed, obviously. So although we're going to put most of our effort towards addressing that day after day, the second thing that we need to do is look for easy wins. These are issues that are not crushing you. They're bad, but they're not the ones that are really devastating your life and your situation. It's the broken finger. These are going to be like confidence boosters because you need some easy wins. Success breeds success. And the more success you have, the more positive you're going to feel about your situation. The more positive you feel about your situation, the more likely that you're going to want to continue the fight. The important thing is that you need to start addressing the bleeding. You don't need to fix everything, but you need to start addressing some of these issues. And while addressing everything all at once might sound cool, most of us don't have the capacity to walk that path. So we're going to address one thing at a time. And if we have success, we add more. But we're not going to bite off more than we can chew and set ourselves up for failure. And while you're doing this, do not set hard lines for what you define as success. There's no specific date that you're going to start or that you're going to stop. And on that day, these demons are completely out of your life. Your job is to fight. That is your success. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but unfortunately, some of the battles that you're going to be facing your entire life. It will get easier, but some things may not go away. Some scars are just too deep. So realize that you are committing to a process, not a hard date where after which everything is going to be great.
I know people who quit smoking cigarettes. They set a date. I'm going to quit smoking in 2 weeks. I'm going to wean myself down and quit smoking. 2 weeks comes, they quit smoking. A week later, they have a cigarette. Then 2 weeks later, they're having one cigarette every few days. Next thing you know, 4 months later, they're back to a pack a day. And they're like, it was too hard to quit on that schedule. Or it was too hard to quit. And I'm like, you can't give yourself a schedule. I used to smoke cigarettes, tried to quit. Always gave myself I'm not going to smoke unless I'm drinking. Well, now I got to find a reason to drink. I'm not going to smoke unless I go out downtown. I'm calling people on Tuesday afternoons. You guys want to go out? No, dude. We got to go to school. We got to go to work. You sure? I'll meet you downtown right now. We'll just have a beer and then smoke a pack of cigarettes and then no. I realized that for me, I can't wean it down. I got to stop. I either start or I stop. I'm an all in, all out. So I stopped cold turkey. April 29th, 2002, 5:51 p.m. I took my cigarette, put it out, took my pack, crushed it up, threw it down on the floor of my passenger seat in my Ford Bronco at the time. Told myself there wasn't any excuse to start. My first week, that was the easiest week I ever had. Then the next 9 months was the most difficult because I kept telling myself, my brain was just like, you did it. You're fine. Now just go buy a pack of cigarettes. We'll be fine. That was so tough. Now I don't even think about it. Now it's nothing. But I had to go completely cold turkey. But I know people who can't do that. And I get that. I know people who have tried and failed several times. And they're like, it'll just never work. And I'm like, you tried and you failed. But that doesn't mean you can't try and succeed the next time. Because I didn't just quit cold turkey. I quit 4 times and then restarted. It was the 5th one where I didn't give myself any reason, any excuse. I just did it. And fortunately it stuck. But yeah, you can't give yourself a time frame as much as you want to. In 6 months, I'm going to be sober. In 6 months, I'm going to be smoke free. Don't give yourself a timeline. Quit. And then establish a timeline of, I'm going to be 6 months cigarette free. Go through this quitting process where maybe you quit and you haven't had one in a month. And you're like, okay, in 6 months from now, I'm going to be smoke free. That to me is a little different. But don't just suddenly give a timeline. Like, don't put yourself through that. That's the most difficult, because now your brain's going to get flustered. If you're having cravings, you're going to give in. Well, it'll never go away. Well, it's never going to go away if you keep feeding into it.
We all have bad days, be it in the gym or be it in our character. Just because you have a bad workout doesn't mean you give up on your program. And likewise, just because you have a day where you relapse on some of your character faults doesn't mean that you give up on you. You're trying. You're trending in the right direction. That is success, because the results are going to come not from one day of good deeds or one day of refraining from bad deeds, but the collective of consistent actions over an extended period of time. So up until now, a lot of your steps in this process have been actions inside of the mind, but now you have to start actually acting physically, and you have to, in this, stop the bleeding. You have to stop and refrain from the actions that are truly devastating your life and destroying your character. And if you can't stop, do less. But you have to start the process of trying to refrain from those things. Now, on the other side, you need to start doing positive things. You need to start doing good deeds, things that are going to give you spiritual credit and things that are going to give you an emotional boost. Every deed you do is going to make it easier for you to do more good. The more good you do, the less time you have for bad. It's real hard for somebody to run and smoke at the same time. If you're in bed early and up early, you're going to miss the devil's most active hours. The more good you do, the better you're going to feel about yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the less likely you're going to be to want to do bad, tearing down all of the good deeds that you've built up. And just like you're not going to stop every single problem that you have overnight, you're not going to save the world overnight. Obviously, you shouldn't be thinking like that. But just like in trying to mitigate your evil, you're going to have to try and increase your good in moderation, which might sound weird because why would you want to moderate the amount of good that you do? But you don't want to wake your soul up one day and decide that I'm going to cure the heroin epidemic and solve human trafficking. First, because you haven't built up your capacity for that level of good. No good deed goes unpunished. And when you start to do really, really good deeds, you will face really, really big trials. And that is not what you need to be facing right now. And second is that you need easy wins here. We do not need to set ourselves up for inevitable failures, which reinforce the negative self-talk of you suck. You fail at everything that you try. You can't do anything right or consistently, so why are you even trying? You're in a fragile state right now. You do not need that. You need to gradually build up your capacity for good. And with regards to your personal relationships, you need to temper your expectations because obviously there's a lot of room for improvement there. You've definitely done some damage in both your actions and inactions. So don't expect that the people that you care about are going to embrace, notice, or be grateful for your change in character. But again, and remember, this is very important, that this is not about them. It's about you. Because why do we do good deeds in the first place? Like, what's the point? A lot of people do good deeds because they want something back in return. I'll pay for dinner this time, he'll pay for dinner next time. It's a very transactional experience. People, even if they don't want to admit it, see it as an investment. I'll put in an effort at this point in time, hoping to gain some sort of reciprocal action at some point in the future, be it in the form of time, money, or some similar action to the action that I took. This is the most base reason for doing a good deed. And I hate to break it to you, but it's actually not a good deed. At best, it's just neutral. And the worst part about it is you might not actually get anything back in return because it's not an altruistic action. Don't expect any sort of spiritual credit with God when you did the action for a being. And if the person you did it for doesn't return the favor, then you really lost out twice. But it could be worse. You could go in the negative and do your good deeds so that others see you, appreciate you, and praise you for your actions. He's such a nice guy. He's so helpful. He's so religious. He's so generous. Oh, look at him. He's turning his life around. This quickly turns your good deeds into bad deeds regardless of the positive impact that they may have in this world, because now you're making idols of your audience. Both of these are problematic, mainly because they're performative for the purpose of seeking pleasure from others. In the first, you want something in return, be it cash or time or reciprocal actions. In the second, you want attention, love, affection, approval from the people who view your action.
I'll be right back. Okay, sorry everyone. It went from sorry. Come on, move it. It went from me letting my dogs out and feeding them to also getting a pot roast ready for tomorrow, taking a shower, talking to the roofing guys who decided to show up at about 10 minutes ago because it's winter time. So, well, it's close to winter. So, sorry, it's the end of fall. So the sun's going to go down in about an hour and a half maybe, and they've decided to show up now to do some stuff, ripping out a new section. That's good. I'm sure it'll be patched up rather quickly. It won't be. This isn't going to get done until December, it's going to feel like. It's been a nightmare. Okay, so back to the video. I apologize.
And the worst part of it is that it's quite likely that in both scenarios, you receive none of the above. When from a spiritual perspective, good deeds are going to be done for the refinement of your character in the process of seeking closeness to a higher power. The good deeds are like going to the gym. You're going to strengthen your spiritual muscles by lifting heavier deeds, and the process is going to refine your character. It will refine your character first and obviously because you're doing good deeds, and good people do good deeds, kind of in the definition. Second is because you are creating a process in which you're strengthening your resolve to do good deeds in the future. Just like evil, good is on a spectrum. Some deeds are greater than others. But be forewarned, that great deeds come with their own problems. One of the greatest setbacks you ever faced was due to the reaction you had to the circumstances you faced after doing a good deed. And as you were told, no good deed goes unpunished. You're not prepared for certain acts. Martyrs are martyrs for a reason. The more good you do, the more you'll be capable of doing good. The more good you do, the more that you'll be tested and the more trials that you're going to face. The more trials and tests that you face, the more that you're going to build up your capacity to do more good, because you'll be more capable of handling the tests and trials that come with doing those good deeds. So you need to start doing good, but you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You've got a personality that likes to go big or go home. When you wake up, you're going to want to save the world. And while that's a good idea, that's not where you start. A boxer doesn't face the champ in his first fight. You got to warm up with some easier challenges first. You run a half marathon before you run an ultra. You're not going to race Goggins on your first day back. And there are a lot of good deeds that you can do that don't require an enormous amount of effort, but can still have a really big impact in your life. You can pray, you can smile, you can compliment someone, you can tell those that you love them. You can give the guy who's begging for $1, or maybe even a meal. Read some spiritual text or listen to a uplifting and motivational podcast. Just put your head down and work. I promise you it will pay off. Again, it's like going to the gym. You're going to feel good just by showing up. You're not going to see the results right away, but you're going to feel good about it. And feeling good about yourself is going to encourage you to do more good. And if you're consistent, then over time, you're going to see those spiritual muscles grow and you're going to see that character become defined. So you need to take action. First, by putting a stop to the critical areas of failure. It might take days, most likely weeks, most probably it's going to take months. But just start trying. Resist the urge to fall in the traps that have been holding you back. And while you're supporting the resistance, start racking up good deeds. Start small and stay consistent. A small good deed done over and over again consistently is going to be way more powerful towards your transformation than a great deed done once and never repeated again.
What he's saying is, go to the grocery store and steal just one piece of gum, not the whole pack. And then the next time steal 2 pieces and then 4 pieces. And the next thing you know, you've built up to steal an entire case of chewing gum. See what I mean? Was that the message? I don't think that was the message. I was incorrect on that one. That's my bad. I wasn't listening, apparently.
It's hard and counterintuitive to act in moderation, especially if you've woken up and have this new sense of energy towards doing good deeds and righting previous wrongs. But incremental, sustainable efforts is the most tried and tested method of growth and self-improvement in every field imaginable. So start, even if you have to start small, and stay consistent. It's time that your commitment to improvement progresses from a desire within your heart to actions that you put forth into the world.
Well said. I'll be honest. After I do the next episode, this is something I could see just listening to again, like at work. Just listening to it while you work. Because it gets your mind. Because that's your number one enemy. It's your mind. Because if you wake up and you're having a bad day, like something goes wrong, and you're like, your mind right there is everything is going to be bad. Instead of just going, all right, let's look for the positive. Let's because if you're just, then, I stubbed my toe. Oh, it's worse. Oh, this happened. Oh, everything just becomes dramatically worse. But if you're just like, okay, boom, now I'm going to do something and it's going to work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change that karma. I'm going to make it good. I'm not going to allow 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things to snowball into 8, 9, 10. I'm going to change my mental state to make that that change so that I'm not looking at today's just a bad day. It's just a wasted day. Make the mental change that, okay, that happened. Now we're going to do this. A couple more things might happen in the day. Then you can look at it like, okay, yesterday I had 4 things go wrong. Today I've had 5. Maybe that's just the average day, but it's worse because these 3 things happened in 5 minutes. But the rest of the day was okay. But you're just kind of like, oh, the day started terrible. But your mind is still in that the day started terrible, but it could continue. Just, you got to make little changes like that. That's something that I try to do instead of allowing the negativity to fester and build and become an avalanche of shit. I just think, okay, shake that off. Think about something else. Let's I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus on this and make sure this works out. Then I'm going to focus on the next thing, make sure that works out. And then eventually I can get 2 tasks done at one time. Oh, I hit the microphone. Oh, wasted video. Have a good day. Have a good night. I hit the wrong button. I really, yep, I did it again, didn't I? Oh, okay. Bye.